So here's a question for you, right? So when you started coming up, and obviously you saw a lot of different hip hop artists, was there anybody that you saw from the beginning that you was like early, you was like, damn, this guy or this girl, they're gonna be big, I can tell, and that they actually did become somebody?
Yeah, I would have to say the Furious Five. Definitely the Furious Five. You know,
So you knew
because
you
see,
knew from the
Grandma.
jump that they were gonna be something.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because the Furious Five. See, Keith Cowboy, God bless him, was down with
God
my
bless the
brother
dead.
Mean Gene and Grandmaster Flash.
Hmm.
And as time went by, Keith Cowboy, he kept getting better and better and better on the microphone. And I was like, once this guy do a record or if he do something, he's going to be big. So once Grandmaster Flash and my brother Mean Gene decided to separate, that's when we formed the L Brothers and we got Kevy Kev and Robbie Rob. And Grandmaster Flash had Melly Mel, Kid Creole, Keith Cowboy, and then they had Mr. Ness, you know, and then they actually eventually went and got Raheem from the Funky Four, plus
Hmm.
plus one more and stuff like that. You know, I don't know why he left the group. I don't know why he just didn't stay with them. You know, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
You know,
Hey, it happens. It happens.
so so that's when I realized that Furious Five was going to really become something. You know.
All right. So when Grandmaster Flash and Fierce Five they get this record deal, um, was that like a big moment? Like anybody? I mean, before that, with people getting, I mean, Curtis Blow, was doing some things for sure. Like, what would you say was like a point where you was like, oh man, this is like gonna be big. Like this thing is like serious. Like people starting getting deals. Like, was there anybody in particular that made you feel like, yo, this is gonna be big, or was it just a
When the
combination of a
message
few?
when the message came out, when Grandmaster Flash the message came out, I was like, yeah, this is definitely gonna be something because when the message came out, it was actually a record that was going outside of the Bronx. You know, it started hitting. It started because once you do a record, you everywhere, all over the United States.
That's right.
You know, when we were doing hip hop, we were just as far as our mixtapes. You got a cousin that coming from North Carolina, and you end up making him a mixtape, and then he take the
Yep.
mixtape back to North Carolina, and everybody's like, "What is this? What is this?
That's
This
right.
is hot.
That's
This is
right.
you got DJs
That's
cutting
right.
up breaks stuff like that." So when the message came out, that's when I realized, man, that this is really gonna happen, man. It's like when they did the message, it was like this is gonna be happening for everybody. Everybody involved, like all the groups, like Fantastic, Funky Four plus one more, the Crash Crew, and other groups like that.
No, that's pretty crazy. What's one of your favorite spots that you've been to, uh, touring wise in the U.S.? What's one of your favorite places abroad?
Um, One of the places that I love to tour in the United States is definitely the West Coast, man. Definitely the West Coast, man, because the West Coast is so wide open, man. And you can go do a tour in San Francisco, go to San Diego, go to Washington State, go to all parts of California and do parties and stuff like that and do a tour. And I'm loving that, man, And the tour, I definitely like to go like on in Europe and stuff like that, to London and France and stuff like that. I have a good time going out there, man. Like tasting the different food and stuff like that, and just the culture period, man. It's just so fun,
Yo,
man. It's fun.
listen, man. I got to Europe. My first time I went was in 2018, and I think I've been there
Woo!
about 10 times. 10 times since then, bro.
Wow.
And I go and I stay there 3 months, come back, stay there 3 months. Like
Three
it's a whole
months.
different vibe over
Wow.
there. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
I'll be over there
absolutely, man. The
crazy now.
food, the people, man, is just a
It's
whole new
crazy.
different vibe, man. I
Listen,
love it.
I was just there right now during the pandemic. Like during the pandemic, I was able to go out there and everything. I was there in
Oh, get out of
September.
here.
Hell yeah, man! I found a way to get out there. I was out. Yeah, I needed to get
Do you
away
have
for a little
family
bit, and
out
it
there,
was.
or you just
No, I
went
don't.
out there
I
to
got like family now. You could say they like my family, but I basically, yeah, man. It's a long story, but I ended up kind of. I was there in 2019, and I didn't know about the Schengen law where you can only be there for 3 months. I didn't know that. So I was there for like damn near 3 months, and then I was there touring with Lords of the Underground and Onyx, and then Lords of the Underground,
Oh
Funky Man is like,
man.
yo, he's like, yo, how long you been here? He's like, yo, you got to go back home. I'm like, what do you mean? Anyway, long story short, I ended up trying to apply for a residency because I had some place to stay, and they said
Right,
that they were
right.
going to give me a
It probably would have
job.
been hard for you. Yeah, yeah.
No, no, it was.
Wow.
I had the appointment, and while I do the appointment, I can stay there until I get the review back. Well, what happened is I
Wow.
was already past my time, so I just left and made the appointment for March. So last year I was there touring again, and I couldn't go. I was there with DOS Effects and Master Ace this time,
Oh
and I was
man.
supposed to be
Wow.
out
Those
there
my
for like
people right
for a
there.
minute,
Yeah.
and so I
My
was
people right
exhausted,
there.
right? So I came back home. I left all my stuff in Austria. Came back home for 1 week, and I was going back to start the next half of the tour, and then the pandemic hit. So I was able to finagle some stuff and say like, "Hey, I missed my appointment, because of the pandemic." So I was able to, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I finagled
You
my
got
way back
timing,
out there,
bro. You
man.
got
Let's
timing,
give a
Focus.
let's give a round of applause for making some magic happen, making some magic happen.
So
Nah, but
you
I love it.
so is your stuff still there, or you able to? It's
Well, I
still
was
out.
able to get my stuff from Austria, and then I brought some of that back. But now I got other stuff in Germany. I got like what I call
Austria is
my
nice,
German
man.
family. Yeah, I love Austria,
Austria is nice.
and
Yo, Austria is
and
nice.
so I got other stuff in Germany over there. But I'll probably go back in like June or something like that. Because now I could go whether pandemic or not. I can still go now. Basically
Cool, cool.
I got
Is
access,
everybody
baby.
having a good time in the room, man?
Oh
But
yeah.
but now I want to know if anybody has some questions, man. I know my man Jake definitely got a
Yeah,
question.
I mean, you
Anybody
guys
Yeah,
got
I
can
some
got a
ask me a
questions?
question.
question, but just to ask you my age, all right? And cool. If we ask my age, and
Jiggy.
I have to end the interview and stuff like that. Now.
Uh,
Nice. Yo, so Theodore, when we had Kaz in here, he was talking a lot. Focus actually asked him the same question about other music genres and what he feels about them and stuff. And he had a similar answer, but he talked a lot about the cultural component. When hip hop kind of became a culture, and he also felt that he was part of the culture and not necessarily part of the genre of music necessarily, or what is categorized by it. You know, Given the timeline of history that you've been involved in, seeing that culture be established and developed. I mean, you know, what part of that, what part did you take in that, like the development of the culture, and also as it changed to where it became more of a culture as opposed to just a style of music? How did that affect your life?
Well, that's a good question. Um, we we live this. It's not like we decided to get up one morning and say, you know what, we're just gonna just do hip hop. We eat, sleep, drink hip hop every single day. We just don't do hip hop from 9 to 5. We do hip hop every single day. Everything that we do is our life. You know, hip hop was reinvented because hip hop was always here. People say, "Oh, you guys created hip hop." No, we did not create hip hop. We reinvented hip hop. Hip hop was always here since the beginning of time. It's just that it evolved, you know, and it's presented a different way. You can go back to the tribal days when you got the headmaster and everybody's sitting around the campfire, and the headmaster is telling stories to all the people and all the kids around the campfire. Well, that's
Hmm.
the MC. And then you got the people banging on the drums and stuff like
I was
that
gonna say the drum
in the
circle
tribe.
part. Yep.
Yeah, that's the DJ, And then um you go inside the caves, and you see the hieroglyphics on the wall, and you see what animals they worship, what words they use for language, um and stuff like that. So you can tell a lot about them just by looking at the hieroglyphics on the caves. That's the graffiti artist, you know and It was always here. It's just that we reinvented. And so to answer your question is that we live this every day. It's like our way of life. You know, like of a MC, he would have problems in his life and stuff like that. He would start writing down stuff on a piece of paper to make himself feel better. It's like therapy for him. Then you got the DJ that probably go and lock himself in a room and just start playing music for a couple of hours, and it kind of rejuvenates him. You know,
Hmm.
it's like reading a book. It'll take you somewhere. You know, and then you got the graffiti artist that might go and paint a mural. The mural might have all these pretty colors and stuff like that, and you'd be like, "Oh wow, this graffiti art, he's feeling good that day because all the colors that he's painting that day, is really pretty colors. So he must be feeling good that day." And another day, he might be painting in black and a lot of anger colors and stuff like that, you know. And
Hmm.
it's just we live this every day, man. This is our life, you know. And being that this was our life, we exposed it to other people in the world, and the other people in the world started to identify with it because somebody in Africa or somebody in China or somebody in different parts of the world was probably going through the same thing we was going through, but they didn't have a way to express it, you know. Hope that
Wow.
answers your question.
No
Yeah, no,
doubt.
definitely. That's amazing. It definitely sounds like a lot of this stuff was developed just out of the way that the lifestyle you guys were having. You know what I mean at the time, and the way you guys were expressing yourself. It's like one of those things that
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
born out of
definitely.
necessity, just
Yeah,
simply by nature. You know what
yeah,
I mean? That's amazing.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No
Any
doubt.
other
No
questions?
doubt.
Yeah, I'm a filmmaker. I'm a filmmaker out here in Detroit, and I just did a documentary called
Oh,
Focus
cool, cool. I
734
like
about
the
these
beard,
about
man. The beard is really cool. So, huh.
yeah, I
Word
just
up.
did this documentary about these young brothers who are hip hop artists, and they a guy by the name of Jamal Bufford. He started a work with my brother's keeper, and he actually brought a hip hop element to it to help these young men work through some issues. And they it was surprising to see because you typical have your hip hop tear up the house, party mix, but these guys found a lot of therapy and a lot of common elements in between each other. Do you ever get into that space? Do you ever, is that the same thing for you? Is it more you have, your stuff that you put out commercially, but do you also have like some bars and stuff that kind of speak to you?
um, yeah, it's like I said earlier, man. This like this hip hop thing is like therapy, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I have a clothing line called Birth of Hip Hop. You know, and when you buy the clothing, it has a little tag on it that tells you hip hop history. It's not just any clothing line. It's a piece of history. You can look at it and it tell you maybe a story about Cool Herc that nobody knows, or a story about the Cold Crush Brothers, or a story about Grand Wizzard Theodore that nobody knows about, and stuff like that. It'll probably tell you like we grew up in the Bronx and the nobody was able all of the how can I say this, all of the people that own buildings couldn't get no one to move inside of their buildings. So they started burning all the buildings down in the Bronx. That's why people kept saying the Bronx is burning because the landlords couldn't get no one to move into their buildings. So they just burnt them all down and started collecting all the money and stuff like that, you know? And I feel that, hip hop can definitely be therapeutic to a lot of people, man, and definitely thanks for sharing your story, man, about Kiefer and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.